Thank you for inviting us here today to speak. We're really happy to be here. UNAC stands for the United National Anti-War Coalition. We are a coalition of anti-war and social justice groups in the United States, about 200 member groups, local groups, regional groups, and national groups. And one very important group within our coalition is the U.S. Peace Council, who we work very closely with. The U.S. Peace Council and UNAC together organized the Hands Off Syria Coalition in the United States. This is an extremely important issue, especially in the United States, because it's very, very misunderstood, the role of the United States. The United States continually says we are fighting the terrorists, but it is another imperialist intervention of the United States, and it has divided the peace movement and the progressive movement, and it is very important that there is in the United States a strong voice that points that out. We have been able to do national tours and demonstrations and meetings and so forth. Another area that that UNAC has been very involved with has been our Odessa solidarity work, and talking about the situation in the Ukraine, which is another area that is misunderstood. And I was very happy to see the comrades here from Odessa. We were able last year on May 2nd, which is the anniversary of the brutal fascist attack at the House of Trade Unions in Odessa, to send 3 members over to Odessa and join the demonstration that took place there in remembrance of that attack. It was an important time to send people, and others from other countries also came, those that could get in. A number could not get into Ukraine, because there was the possibility and the threat from the fascist forces within Ukraine that they were going to mobilize and stop that demonstration. And yet a large demonstration took place. The fascist forces were very small. They tried to march through it. And I understand this year on May 2nd the demonstration was even larger, and I'm sure the comrades from Odessa will talk more about that situation. In the United States today, there is so much anti-Russia propaganda that is coming out. 24/7, the news media just talks about Russia. When this happens in the United States, it usually means they get ready for war. They try to show how evil a specific country is. They demonize a specific country. The anti-Russia propaganda is around 2 areas. First of all, they say that Russia intervened into the elections in the United States on the side of Trump and got Trump elected, when really the American people wanted Hillary Clinton elected. Neither candidate, of course, in our opinion, was any good. Hillary Clinton was the candidate of neoliberalism and Wall Street, and Donald Trump really represents a right-wing trend in the United States, a racist trend, anti-immigrant trend, nationalist trend, similar to some of those that are happening in Europe, and is very dangerous. But you know, it is so hypocritical, because the United States intervenes into the elections in just about every country in the world. It builds opposition parties. It pays for those opposition parties. Ukraine is a great example. When Maidan happened, they were over there. They decided who the next president would be after the coup. They were handing out cookies to the people in Maidan. Could you imagine if Russia or Cuba or some other country came to the United States when we had our Occupy Wall Street movement and said, "You're doing a great job, keep on going, overthrow this government, here are some cookies, in fact, we'll give you some money if you'd stay out in the streets." Would not be tolerated, and yet we do it everywhere. There is a Time magazine poster, I know you can't see it from where you are, that shows evil-looking Putin. Not that I love Putin, but an evil-looking Putin saying, "Russia wants to undermine the democratic system in the United States, don't fall for it." But I made a copy of a former Time magazine that took place when Yeltsin was running. Let me read you the headline on that. Yanks to the rescue. The top secret story of how American advisors helped Yeltsin win. So we intervene, the United States intervenes everywhere. It's really hypocritical. But there has been no, and I mean no, evidence presented of any Russian interference. It is just stated over and over again until it's believed by a number of people, and then they build a whole edifice around that and what to do. The other thing is they say that Russia is a threat to the United States and a threat to Europe. And again, Ukraine is used as the example. It's just stated over and over again that the Ukrainian people want to stay away from Russia and that Russian troops are intervening in the Ukraine. Of course, this has not happened. And the truth doesn't come out. So it's important that we in the anti-war movement in the United States continue to say these things. Now, Trump is escalating war. This trip that he's taking, which will end here with his visiting NATO, started in Saudi Arabia, where he gave over $100 billion. $100 billion is understating it, because he's really gave over $300 billion over the next several years, just $100 billion this year. $100 billion, as they are destroying the country of Yemen. And it's not just them. They are a proxy force for the United States. You have to understand that. The logistics for their planes, the fueling of their planes, the planes themselves come from the United States, the arms come from the United States, and the United States still has a blockade of Yemen as the people of Yemen are starving. But what he did with this meeting of these Muslim countries, these great democracies with kings, and nobody was elected in that room pretty much, is he's trying to form another kind of NATO in the Middle East. And this is extremely, extremely dangerous. The other place that the U.S. is aiming its forces at today is North Korea. And they vilify North Korea. They show this man with a strange haircut and a different culture, and they say, so he must be evil. It's the racism that is ingrained in so many American people that allows for that to be accepted. But this is a nuclear country, and it's part of the surrounding of China that's taking place. As they call it the pivot to China, as we put THAAD missiles in South Korea, as we have some of the largest military maneuvers and war games that go on there. The last one had 250,000 people with flyovers of planes carrying nuclear weapons. How many countries has North Korea attacked since the Korean War? 0. How many countries has the United States attacked? Well, I don't have enough fingers to show you that. During the Korean War, we bombed every standing building in every city of that country. We killed 1/3 of their population. Twice they tried treaties with the United States saying, if you will just stop doing what you're doing to our country, we will stop our nuclear program. Twice they stopped. Twice we made treaties with them, the U.S. did, and twice we didn't honor those treaties and they went back. This is a real danger. And as we surround Russia, another nuclear power, with so-called missile defense and war games right on their border, and increased troops that are going into all the countries that surround. And as we've gone into one country after another that was part of the Warsaw Pact or part of the Soviet Union, and when we promised that we would not do that, that NATO would not do that, there's a tremendous threat. The wars that the United States have done have been against small countries, Afghanistan, Iraq. Now we're aiming at nuclear powers, and it's a danger to the entire world. We in the United States have started to protest NATO. Most of our protests have been against our own government, which is the leader of NATO, and which is the major force for war in the world. The United States has troops in about 130 countries around the world. We have 20 times the number of foreign military bases as all other countries in the world combined. The United States is the threat. We have to come together. We have to come together internationally to do this. As Trump wants to build walls, we build bridges to ourselves. And this is why we're so happy to be at the conference here today. When I say we bring greetings and I say we want to work with the World Peace Council, I don't say it to be diplomatic or to be polite. I say it because I mean it. Because it is only as we build an international movement that we can stop this evil that is threatening our world, and that will be meeting here this in the next couple of days here in Brussels. So thank you again for inviting UNAC. Let's continue to be together. Let's continue to be strong, and together I know we will win.